Hey
Sal,
Cody, Sal from Black Knight Nation. How are you?
what's up, Sal? How are you? I'm doing well.
I'm doing well. Hey, I didn't get to call a play on Friday night, but maybe next time.
Hey, man, you had it. I gave it to you.
Yeah, I didn't take advantage of it. I want to ask you about Dwayne Coleman. Maybe not necessarily Dwayne on the field, but maybe Dwayne off the field and the growth. Maybe the growth you've seen of him as a person, a player through his 4 years. You know, you've had him. This is your fourth year having him. What have you seen from Dwayne?
Yeah, so unique experience and the things that he's gone through and experienced have really shaped him. He just had his baby girl recently over the summer. So naturally, having a child has kind of reshaped some of the things that he's going through. But as a cadet, as a player, as a guy that I've seen grow from his freshman year to now, he's always been really consistent with how he's been a really good teammate. No matter what his role has been on this team, he's always been a really good teammate, whether he was on the scout team, whether he's in the mix, like last year as a backup. You see he's one of the first guys to congratulate Bryson Daly, or the first one to congratulate a young guy when he makes a play. He always brings a lot of energy, very mature for his age and how he's handled his business and his upbringing. But I'm really pleased with how he's developed over this course of his cycle, being named the starter and putting himself in a position to really earn that job and going about his business the way that he's going about it. I'm proud of him. He's handled things really well. And he continues to get better with little things from a leadership standpoint every day, but he always brings energy and enthusiasm. And I'm really pleased with how he's developed in this last cycle.
How much does that maturity help him in the situation that he's in, his first opening day start? And this is his team. This is his offense, so to speak.
Yeah, I think last year was huge for him. Just getting one under his belt. I think it's huge for anybody, but having a game like Air Force under his belt where he did what we needed to do to win and played well to give us a chance. But I think he has seen himself in that role in his mind mentally over the course of spring and really since Bryson has left. Now we had an open competition and he embraced that. He understood that. And he didn't take anything for granted. Not one rep, not that he started a game, not that he's played in games. He didn't take 1 minute for granted. So, I tip my hat to the way he goes about his business, very professional, and the way he handles things. And he's earned his opportunity and I think he'll be ready for it. He's one of those guys from his personality is very consistent. He's never too high, never too low. So you don't really see a lot of emotion out of him, which I think from a quarterback standpoint is good. But he's done a really good job, and I'm excited to see how he plays Friday night.
Nice. What are you expecting from Noah Short in his senior year?
I think his growth, just overall comprehension, he's a guy that now can help a lot of other guys on the offensive unit. Not that he couldn't do that and didn't grasp it in years past or even last year, but he's in a position now where he's a little bit more of a leader in terms of using his voice. A lot of times, the way he practices is his leadership model. You know what you're going to get out of him. The way he practices is the way he plays. He plays 100 miles an hour. He practices 100 miles an hour, but I anticipate him having a good year. I think he's put in the work and he deserves the opportunity. And I think he's honed in on little things as a receiver, as playing the position. Last year was really the first time that he had played our slot position. And he's really taken the next step in his development and his growth. But he's certainly a guy that he'll be a focal point in the offense, just like he was last year, in more of a role this year for sure. But I anticipate him having a really good year.
I was going to ask you, can a slot back be a featured back in your system, in your scheme, or is it going to be balanced?
I think it varies week to week, Sal. I know that's not the answer you want to hear, but it's some games. We rely on that position a lot, and the Florida Atlantic game, for example, or even the UTSA game, for example. There's certain things, and once you get into the game, you kind of get a feel for things. And I think he's going to be a focal point. He was last year in terms of a feature back. That's finding ways to get him the ball and being creative, I think is critical in evolution of offensive play because he is dynamic. So, we look at that and we assess that, but we want to take what the defense gives us and keep them honest in a lot of different aspects of what we do. But he's certainly a guy that we know as coaches in an offensive unit that needs to be an impact player for us.
David Cross is, I think, started every game for you last year. You have kind of not a new group, maybe guys that were under him last year, led by Parker Poloski. How you feel about Parker's emergence in that position in general as you head to the season opener?
So to be honest with you, Si, I'm really pleased with this position. I think we're deep. Overall, we're better than we were last year. I think Parker just staying healthy and the growth that he's shown, he is a really dynamic kid, and we can do a lot with him. He's a kid that can line up at receiver, and he's not just a guy that runs a route for the love of the game. We can throw him the football. And he's shown that in spring, he's shown it in fall camp. He's really physical, prides himself on being really physical in the run game, but he's athletic. He gives us a new dynamic on the perimeter as well as the core of the box, and he gives us a threat in the pass game. So I'm really pleased with his progression. But the room in general, I mean, we're deep at that position, even though we're young. Brian Dyer, who was a direct tight end, has really made a huge jump in his growth. He's a really smart kid. So he processes things really well. He's gotten more physical. That was his downfall, and he'll admit that. But he's embraced that part of the game even more, gotten more physical, understands what we're trying to do, and really natural pass catcher. He's got true receiver ability. So, different dynamics there with both of those guys gives us a lot of versatility that maybe we didn't need last year, but need now. And then Tex Brennan and even the younger guys, James Rothstein, Noah Pryor, we're really deep at that position, and it's a position I think with growth and reps will continue to get better. But those top three guys you could see them in the game on Friday night for sure.
That's my last one's just an offensive line question. We know who you have on the inside. They've seen game reps, but you have Henry Appleton and Teddy Williams as your starting tackles. How you feel about them going into their kind of first career starts?
The best thing for those guys last year, I know Teddy played tight end, but he got to play. And one of the reasons we moved him to tackle was because when he played tight end last year, he was dominant at the point of attack. He didn't have a full grasp, so that's why maybe he didn't play as much as David or Parker. But when you saw him in the run game, he popped on the screen. So he committed to the mob culture, committed to gaining weight. He's already a massive human being, but now weighing 300 pounds with his frame and his size, and the growth under Coach Vitti and Coach Blackshear doing a phenomenal job with him. He'll be a work in progress, but I'm really, really pleased with his development. And the sky's the limit with him, with his ability. He has all the intangibles with length, size, athleticism. It'll just take some game reps getting underneath his belt, but, really excited about his growth potential and what we anticipate him kind of embracing in that role. Henry Appleton is a guy that's going to be a really good football player for us. You look at losing Lucas Scott and Connor Finucane, that's big shoes to fill. But I think these guys are capable of doing that. And like I said, they're going to be a work in progress. I'm not saying that they're going to be that to begin with, but they certainly have the potential to be. Henry, same thing, got to play last year, really physical, talented, gifted, athletic. He's mean, just like all of them are. He's violent. So, I'm really excited about those two guys, and as well as Will Jeffcoat replacing a guy like Bill Katsianis. Sometimes you look out there and they're so similar in structure, and not to take anything away from Bill. Bill was a tremendous player on that Joe Moore award-winning offense, but to have a guy like Will Jeffcoat who has played very similar players and tremendous leader in that room. Jeffcoat is one of the guys that if you ask any of those offensive linemen, he's really the heart and soul from a leadership standpoint of the guys in the. So, it will be a work in progress, Sal, but overall, I'm really excited about the guys and the pieces to the puzzle of replacing some really good players in a phenomenal unit. But Coach Vitti's done a tremendous job in that room, as well as Coach Blackshear. And they go as we go and we go as they go, and they set the tone. And, I love those guys, and they bring that same energy and effort every day.
Really appreciate the time, Cody. All the best on Friday.
Appreciate you as always. Thanks, Sal.